first element is understanding the market you're operating in. Many investors look at Africa as a single market, which is one of the biggest mistakes that they make. It's a 54 country, 29 have access to international rating, 21 have access to international market, and you can assimilate that number to the one who have access to ECA financing. So if you look at infrastructure financing, for example, the amount of money injected every year is between 47 to 50 billion euros. Out of that number, 25 to 30% actually comes from ECA. So if you don't understand that complexity and also know that every country has their own particularity, it's not just one continent where everybody talks about Africa. The perception is different. Everybody thinks that the same way you do business in Senegal is the same way you're doing business in Nigeria. And one of the key success factor with SF Capital is we spend a lot of time and a lot of resources to learn on a yearly basis the reality and then the opportunities in every country. That is based on political analysis, geopolitical analysis, because lack of stability is a real issue. I think in the past 10 years, we hope that coup was behind us, but what we've seen over the past 3 years, is just taking us back 6 years in the past. And these are the key element factor, understanding your market. Once you understand your market, you need to know where to go source the financing of your clients and your partner. For example, in Senegal, when we get out of COVID, we realize the difficulty that government has in terms of raising financing. We realize that China, for example, who has been very bullish in Africa, is pulling out of COVID. We also realize that the local markets, especially the private sector, they complain a lot about governments using international companies, right? And if you look at the traditional ECA financing, it's structured in a way where the company who's doing the project is basically the company who's being financed by their government, and the content from that country is around 70%. So it's basically see infrastructure but no value added. And whoever talks about infrastructure financing in the short, medium terms talk about employment. The only way that governments can address youth employment is through infrastructure in those medium terms. So that's why we work hand in hand with the governments, Ageroute, FERA, Ministry of Economy, Ministry of Finance, to set up and design this, for example, road project, where we leverage from UKEF flexibility when it comes to ECA financing. The minister said it earlier. UKEF is at the moment offering the most flexible export credit financing with a smallest UK content, which is around 30%, 20 to 30%, which means that it gives the government of Senegal, for example, the ability to involve Senegalese company in this, and then also address the youth employment. These are the type of relationship we want to build. If you look at, for example, I don't want to, compare, but sometimes it's good to address it. If you look at, for example, Chinese, well, when you have a project with Chinese companies, the only value added you're seeing is just the road or the infrastructure. And when you talk about infrastructure financing, you need capital to flow. You need SMEs, small, medium enterprises, local companies to be empowered. And that's what we are seeing with UKF. Madia has talked about it earlier. The sanitation project is a project where, we are allowing a Senegalese company to be the EPC. And these are things that you wouldn't find in a normal traditional ECA financing. And that's the value added, that this relationship with UK, so to speak, is a plus for government of Senegal. And understanding the markets, I can come back to that, is the reason why when you do a project in a country and it works very well, it's easy for you to replicate it. We are close to signing in Guinea the same PSD that we are doing in Senegal. Why? Because it works very well in Senegal. Government of Guinea appreciate it. The Guineans private sector, appreciate it, and they call for us to come and implement the same project. But these require times to assess what is best for all stakeholders. The lender, the companies, where, for example, when you get UK funding, UK is supporting, to some extent, UK exporter. But you also have to make sure also that the country getting the infrastructure will leverage during the construction period by, number one, making sure that there is a local solution, local content. Number two, employment. Number three, cash inflow. These are the key success factor that SF Capital has been implementing over the past, I could say, 6 years, which lead to us raising almost 8 billion euros across 6 African countries in the past 5 years.
Thank you very much. Well, Robert, I think Moustapha set you up well.